Okay, what I want to do in this section is to show you how Erlang runs on a typical system. I'm using Mac OS. It looks similar on Linux and indeed on Windows, though there is an alternative approach on Windows, which we talk about in the next activity. So what does Erlang look like? Well, what we need to do in order to invoke Erlang is to type the command Erl. And that brings us up a shell. You can see that it's a different shell from the original one because the command line begins with a number. So each line is numbered. And what we can do here is write an expression to be evaluated. You remember I said that Erlang acts like a calculator. So we can write something like 3 plus 4. And we end whatever our input with a full stop. So if we write 3 plus 4, we get the result back of 7. If we write 3 plus 4 on a number of different lines, that's still a valid input, and it's only ended by putting in the full stop. So you can see here, we still get the result 7, but we've split the input over a number of lines. And it's easy to forget that. You have to remember you need that full stop in order to end the input. Now, we can evaluate simple things like numbers. We can also evaluate comparisons. 3 less than 4 has the result true, 3 greater than 4 has the result false. Suppose I want to evaluate that 3 less than 4 again. I can do that using the up arrow key. I can switch between, I can move through the history using up arrow. And if I've gone too far in the history, I can use down arrow. So I can go back to 3 greater than 4 there and get the result false. So there we see simple expression evaluation taking place. Another thing we can do in the shell is input more complicated expressions like the list 2, 3, 4. Don't worry too much about the syntax here. We'll be talking about that in a lot more detail soon. But there you see the list 2, 3, 4, and we can apply a function to that, the built-in function head of 2, 3, 4. 2, 3, 4, like that. But I could have done this differently. I could have navigated to that expression and then using the left and right arrow, I can edit a previous line. So I can be really quite lazy and I still get that result. Another way I can be lazy is by naming things. So I can name this list A. And then I can say, what's the head of A? And I get the answer 2. So in the shell, we can evaluate expressions, we can edit expressions, edit previous expressions by moving through them using the up and down arrow keys, and within a line, we can edit an expression by moving within it. So we can say, what's the head of 12, 2, 3, 4? We get the answer 12, because we've added that extra element by editing the previous line. Now we'll talk a lot more about variable binding, because what we're doing here in fact is binding the variable a to a particular value. But one thing it's worth knowing is that you can forget the binding of a by typing the shell command f of a. And so now if I ask what is a, I get the answer a is unbound, whereas if I rebind it there and ask what a is, I get the answer 2, 3, 4. So I can forget the binding of A, I can forget all bindings by typing F. So if I ask for A again, you can see variable A is unbound. I think that is about all I wanted to say about Erlang at the moment. Let me just show you one preview, that we can write functions as expressions. So we can write, for example, fun of x arrow x plus x, and that's a lambda. The lambda that takes a value x to the result x plus x, and we could apply that to 99 like this. Here you see you've got the function applied to an argument by putting the argument in parentheses, and we should get, as we'd expect, 198. So you can see we've got this calculator, as I said earlier on, but in the calculator we've got structures like lists, we've got functions as well as the built-in functions. So we've got a very flexible model there. Finally, what I should say is in order to quit Erlang, you type Q. All shell commands begin with a small letter. So Q is to quit, F is forget, and so on. And we follow that with a full stop. And that takes us out of the Erlang shell. Okay, what we're going to do next is you'll do an activity which will let you install Erlang for yourself, and then you'll be able to try out these, try out the Erlang shell and try out this sort of evaluation for yourself. Okay, thanks.